you right now. You walk through the world as the most dangerous predator that has ever existed. Not because of your teeth. You barely have any. Not because of your claws. You don't have those either. You are slow. You are weak. You are, by almost every physical measure, one of the most pathetic creatures in the animal kingdom. And yet every other species on Earth is afraid of you. That fear is not ancient. For most of your species' history, you were not the apex predator. You were prey. And then, somewhere along the way, something shifted. A single moment, or really a long, slow accumulation of moments, turned the weakest hunter on the savannah into the most feared organism the planet has ever known. This is the story of that shift. 2 million years ago, your ancestors were not impressive. Paleoanthropologist Robert Blumenschein examined fossil evidence at early hominin sites and found that early humans were primarily scavengers, not hunters. They waited for lions and hyenas to finish a kill, then crept in to gnaw whatever scraps remained, often cracking open bones that other predators had abandoned to extract the marrow inside. You were not at the top of the food chain. You were closer to the bottom, competing with vultures for leftovers. Think about that. Your direct ancestors stood at the edges of a kill site, watching real predators eat, waiting their turn to scavenge bones. So how did a species this physically unimpressive become the dominant force on the entire planet? The answer is not strength. It was never strength. The answer is something far stranger and far more terrifying once you understand what it actually was. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham, in his research on human evolutionary biology, argues that one of the earliest turning points was the controlled use of fire. Cooking food did more than make it taste better. It pre-digested calories outside the body, allowing your ancestors' guts to shrink and their brains to grow. Fire was the first piece of technology that gave humans an advantage no predator on Earth could match. A lion cannot light a fire. A hyena cannot guard a flame. Suddenly, your ancestors had a tool that kept every other predator at bay through nothing but flickering light. But fire was only the beginning. The next leap was even stranger. Evolutionary biologist Daniel Lieberman, who has spent decades studying human physiology, discovered that humans possess a capability no other large land mammal has in quite the same way. Endurance. Your body is covered in roughly 2 million sweat glands, allowing you to release heat continuously while running. Most predators, lions, cheetahs, wolves, cool themselves through panting, which only works while they are not breathing hard. This means they can sprint explosively, but cannot sustain a chase. Your ancestors could not outrun an antelope in a sprint, but they could outlast one. This led to what researchers call persistence hunting. Early humans would track an animal for hours, sometimes an entire day, in the heat of the afternoon, simply following its prints, never stopping, never letting the animal fully cool down or rest. Eventually, the antelope's body would overheat and collapse from exhaustion. Your ancestors would walk up to a creature that could have outrun them in a foot race and kill it because it could no longer move. This is one of the most disturbing facts about your species. You did not become dominant because you were fast. You became dominant because you simply would not stop. Anthropologist Louis Liebenberg, who has documented persistence hunting among modern hunter-gatherer groups in the Kalahari, describes hunters tracking a kudu for as long as 6 hours under brutal heat, reading hoof prints, broken twigs, and disturbed sand to follow a trail invisible to almost anyone else. This required something extraordinary. Not muscle. Not speed. Cognition. Prediction. The ability to imagine where an animal would go before it got there. This brings us to the real weapon. Not fire. Not endurance. The brain. Archaeologist Stephen Mithin, in his research on the cognitive evolution of early humans, argues that the development of what he calls cognitive fluidity, the ability to combine different types of thinking, social reasoning, technical reasoning, and natural history knowledge into a single integrated system, was the true turning point in human dominance. Other animals can be smart in narrow ways. A wolf understands pack hierarchy. A crow understands tool use. But early humans began combining these forms of intelligence together. Social intelligence plus technical intelligence plus environmental knowledge equals something no other species on Earth has ever achieved. And it allowed for the most dangerous innovation of all: cooperation. A single human with a sharpened stick is not particularly threatening. 30 humans coordinating an ambush, driving a herd of mammoths toward a cliff edge, communicating through gesture and language about timing, position, and strategy, is one of the most lethal forces in the history of life on Earth. Paleontologist Adrian Lister has studied mammoth extinction patterns across multiple continents and found a disturbing correlation. Wherever humans arrived, megafauna, the largest animals on each continent, began disappearing at rates far beyond what climate change alone could explain. Mammoths in North America, giant ground sloths in South America, massive flightless birds in New Zealand and Madagascar. Within a relatively short window after human arrival, again and again, across continents that had never seen humans before, the largest and most dangerous animals vanished. This pattern is now known among researchers as the megafauna overkill hypothesis. And while scientists continue to debate exactly how much of the extinction wave was caused by humans versus climate shifts, the timing across multiple independent continents is hard to ignore. Humans arrive. Giants disappear. Australia lost its giant kangaroos and car-sized lizards shortly after human arrival. The Americas lost mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, and giant beavers within a few thousand years of human migration across the land bridge. These were not weak animals. A mammoth could crush a human skull with a single foot. And yet humans, working together, using fire, traps, coordinated ambush, and weapons designed and refined over generations, systematically hunted some of the largest and most dangerous creatures that have ever walked the earth into extinction. You did this with sharpened sticks and rocks. Biologist Paul Martin, whose research helped establish the overkill hypothesis, described early humans as a kind of biological blitzkrieg, moving across continents and leaving a trail of vanished giants in their wake. Not because humans were uniquely cruel, because humans were uniquely coordinated, uniquely strategic, and uniquely relentless in a way no predator before them had ever been. Every other apex predator in history evolved physical weapons: claws, fangs, venom, speed. Humans evolved something else entirely: the ability to plan together, communicate complex strategy, and persist beyond what any prey animal could anticipate. You did not become the most dangerous animal on Earth by becoming stronger than everything else. You became the most dangerous animal on Earth by becoming the only species capable of building a plan, sharing it across dozens of minds, and executing it with total coordination. This is what made you frightening. Not muscle. Mind, multiplied by numbers. And this capability did not disappear. It simply changed targets. The same cognitive fluidity that allowed a hunting party to bring down a mammoth now builds cities, writes laws, launches rockets, and reshapes entire ecosystems with agriculture and industry. The coordination that once tracked a kudu for 6 hours across the Kalahari now coordinates global supply chains, scientific research spanning continents, and entire civilizations functioning as a single organism. You carry this inheritance whether you notice it or not. Every time you collaborate on a project, every time a group of strangers organizes toward a shared goal, every time human cooperation accomplishes something that would have been impossible alone, you are running the exact same software that once drove a giant ground sloth into extinction. The teeth never came. The claws never came. You never grew faster, stronger, or more physically formidable than the animals around you. You simply learned to think together. And nothing on this planet was ever built to survive that. The next time you see a nature documentary and feel a flicker of sympathy for the lion losing its territory, or the wolf retreating from expanding human settlements, remember what you actually are. Not the slow, soft, toothless creature your body suggests. The species that outlasted, outplanned, and outcooperated everything else that ever tried to compete. You did not inherit the earth because you were strong. You inherited it because, somewhere in the deep past, your ancestors discovered the one weapon nothing else could match: each other.